We are back. New York City baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-host of the show, Marty Rose from, where is he from? Now he's in Virginia now. He lives in Florida. He's from Staten Island. Before that, Jackson Heights, Marty Rose. And Robert Deininger, who you live all over. You're a Renaissance man, right, Robert?
Yeah, I'm living in Highlands, New Jersey right now.
Okay. Well, New Jersey is what it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Say that again.
As wherever we live, it's never going to be perfect, but it's better than Minsk. I think you'll both agree. We're going to talk a little New York City baseball. Marty, you haven't been with us for a couple of weeks on your trip.
Right.
And we're going to start with you with the New York Mets. Your impressions of one of the worst weeks they ever had, if you take it all into consideration. I'll give you my shining light after you tell me how it got to this last week, how it could have happened.
Well, it's, the worst part's the injuries and not knowing when guys are even coming back. Apparently, whenever Cespedes is out, they never win. I don't know why that is. I mean, he's one guy, and he hasn't had that great of a start, even when he's in there. But for some reason, when he's out, they never win. And, obviously, he's not the only injury. Duda being out. However, with Duda being out, Jay Bruce has really played pretty well at first base, and they were able to get Conforto into the lineup, which is good, and he seems to be hitting very well now. But Darno's been out, Flores has been out, Cabrera's banged up, and the bullpen is pretty much
really
spent.
Hasn't given anything.
Right.
At
he's
all.
healthy. He's healthy, but he's not doing anything offensively.
Right.
Yeah. So and Granderson's off to his usual slow start. The only good thing is that the starting pitching is pitching well, but they're not getting any support. Yeah.
Right. And they always seem to have one inning they fall behind. And not just yesterday, 2-3 times over the last week. Early on, boom, they're behind and they have to play catch up. And that hurts them.
Yeah,
but I'll give you my shining light moment was yesterday when they were losing anyway and the game wasn't on the line, but they brought Familia in and he had a good inning. And I thought that's a good sign. They rushed him back a little bit, put him in key situations right off the bench. Things were going too well with Reed. It's like Collins has to play with a new toy, and they didn't ease him back in, and he got hit around pretty badly, but they gave him that inning, and I thought, see him with a little bit of rest.
Right.
The
Looks
rest
promising.
of the bullpen is, that's very promising. Other than that, Darno having a good year. How long is he supposed to be out?
He's got a shoulder problem, which means he can't throw. Not that he could ever throw before, but he really can't throw. Yeah, well, he's not on the DL. So he's day to day. He's pinch hitting. He's day to day. Cespedes is day to day. The only guys on the DL are Flores and Duda. So.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you one stat somebody brought up. I'm sorry. No, one stat somebody brought up today.
Be a long term.
Yeah, with a hyperextended elbow. I don't know how long that is. I don't know if it's longer than 10 days. It could be. But in any case, against Washington, in their last 25 games against Washington, they've won 8 and lost 17. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for those of you at home who are just tuning in, Washington is in the Mets division. So it's like you might as well double those numbers in terms of the significance it makes. It's horrible. And they don't do well against Miami either, which
no.
This could turn out to be a long year. I don't know what to say about injuries. I thought we went through it last year, and it was particularly bad, and I figured the odds are it wasn't going to be as bad. Well,
hopefully they get a little healthier by next weekend because they got Washington again.
The pitching staff on the whole has been, Matt's notwithstanding, has been pretty healthy.
Yes, they've been
good. Wheeler and Harvey have shown more than I thought they would. I thought it would be 2 or 3 months before they get into the
I agree. Yeah, they've been very good. Yeah, better than I thought. That's a good.
And we also have to look at it this way. All teams are going through this. This is not just it's epidemic in baseball. So things that are being injured, that obliques. Mantle never had an oblique. He had everything else, but he never had an oblique. So
right. I mean, I don't even know what an oblique was until a couple of years ago. So,
right.
All of a sudden,
Dustin Baker said the same thing. He says, I had no idea what an oblique was. Well, we never heard the term.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mert, take a breath, and Robert, kind of a up and down week for the Yankees too. What do you say?
Yeah. I was hoping they'd come away with the series win versus the Pirates, but they just couldn't get any runs going on Sunday.
Yeah. That was kind of a tough loss for the Yankees. A good loss, a good win for Alan Blumpkin from this station, who's an avid Pittsburgh Pirate fan. So every time there's a strike thrown, a ball thrown, a wild pitch, somebody's happy and somebody's not. That's how baseball is. Aaron Judge continues to make me happy on my fantasy team.
Oh, yeah.
He's something else. He hits them hard and far. I will say this.
And I thought he'd be the one out of the 3 rookies that would struggle this year, and he's the one that's really taking the next step.
Yeah. When is Sanchez due back?
I know he's been throwing from 90 feet, and they want to get him in the batting cage this week. He's still on track to be back in a couple weeks, but they don't want to rush him because if he re-injures it's going to be longer the next time. But he's on schedule to be back in a couple weeks.
And he hasn't had any setbacks.
No, he's been throwing from 90 feet, and everything's been going well, and they're looking forward to getting him into the batting cage this week.
Romine's been very good, right?
Yeah, he's been calling some great games behind the plate. And he's worked well with the pitchers, and he's doing good with the bat.
He's hitting 340 or something like that.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
Yeah,
great.
But we with Boston coming up and then Baltimore, we need Gardner to pick it up a little bit, and it'd be nice if Bird can start contributing a little bit more because he's only batting 104 in the season.
Yeah, that's does Hicks play there once in a while too?
Yeah, Hicks has been in the lineup quite a bit until Sunday.
But they haven't played him at first.
No.
They're still using Carter when Bird's not in.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and Bird looks like he's starting to come around. He's making good contact. He's just hitting them to people in the field. But before he looked lost at the plate. Now he at least looks like he's about to get going. So hopefully he breaks through this week.
Okay. How about Didi? When is he coming back at short? And is he in danger of maybe even losing his job or not?
Actually, I listened.
Job
Yeah, I heard Joe Girardi today saying that he's doing really well, and they actually expect him back by the end of the week, and that Didi is the shortstop, but that he will find ways to get Torres into the lineup. That being that he can play second, third, and short.
Right. Yeah, and guys need a break. Getting a good year out of Headley, I'll say that.
Yeah.
So, he's doing very well.
Oh, Headley.
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing very well. He's batting, I think, like 339 with 3 homers, 7 RBIs. He's getting off to a good start. A lot better start than he did last year.
Yeah. He came up with San Diego with a lot of expectations. He was, I don't remember if he was a number one, but he came up with a boom and kind of was slow getting into it, and had a good year or two, and didn't do well with the Yankees last year.
No, and you know, with the he had, like you said, he had 2 good years with the San Diego, and I thought, you know, we were going to get something good, and he's been mediocre at best at third, and hot and cold with the bat.
Yeah. Talk to the pitching a little bit, if you will.
The rookie that they brought up, Jordan Montgomery, in his 3 starts, I like what I see, and of course with Pineda and Servino, as long as they can keep striking out and keeping walks down and eating up some innings, they'll do okay. And Sabathia, he only lasted about 4 innings in his last outing, but he's been pretty good so far this year. It's Tanaka who's we're waiting to get going, but so far the starting pitching has surprised me. They've been pitching a lot better than I thought they would be.
Yeah, when Pineda's on, he has great stuff. Probably the best stuff on the staff. And Sabathia is surprised. I mean, he lost some weight. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think you and I, Robert, talked that it's sad that he's putting together a year like this in his contract year. And how many players do that and seem to just really give it that extra effort for the Bucks. And not that it should be that much of a surprise, but
you know something, Ralph, about Sabathia? At the beginning of last year, I believe he started wearing a knee brace because he's got one knee that's got hardly any cartilage in it. So they designed a knee brace for him. And last year he was much better than he was prior to that. And this year he looks pretty good too. I think that's got a lot to do with physically.
Very interesting. Okay. Again, bang for the buck. It would have been nice to get more over the years, but if injury plays a part in it, I can understand that, and that they're coming up with devices and ways, and medical technology has changed. That's the one good part. That's the one change in baseball that I gotta like. I don't like the frequency of the injuries, but I like the fact that a guy's career isn't going to suddenly be over, and like in the 50s and what have you. That part bodes well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, around baseball, anything going on that you guys wanna? Don't have to hold it just to the Yankees and the Mets. Anything out there that you want to talk about that would be of interest? Either of you guys.
I think the Nationals are a team to really watch this year. And Bryce Harper, he could be shooting for an MVP right out of the gate.
Didn't I ask for him, Mert, earlier in the week when there was a roster move? He said they got to fill it with somebody. I said, how about Bryce Harper? Right? I sent you, and you wrote back, yeah.
Yeah. He's not a free agent till when? The end of
2018.
18? Well, that's not bad. Only one more year after this.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I wonder if Washington will lock him up.
I certainly agree. That team is incredibly dangerous. The only thing is they have a weak bullpen, all the way down the line. And from having seen Dusty Baker up close and personal out here in California as manager of the Giants, I know it wasn't that much different with the Cubs in Cincinnati. He doesn't do well with pitching. He's a great players manager, certainly the coolest guy in baseball. I just don't see him taking the team to the championship. And maybe that's just wishful thinking because we're in the same division, we meaning the Mets and the Banana
National.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's a thought. But all up and down the line, they're terrific. And I was telling Mert earlier that I was saying earlier that Miami is very tough. They have a hard time with them. And the Braves are presentable. They're rebuilding, but if you could say rebuilding with a guy like Cologne, 42-year-old guy.
Teheran is really good.
Yeah, over a career. I hope he breaks Marichal's record. I think he
Cologne
is pitcher from the Dominican for just for a number of reasons, not the least of which he saw fit to take a bat to Johnny Roseborough's head one day, which just that little thing like that. As a Giant apologist, that didn't make me feel particularly good seeing Willie Mays holding Roseborough's bleeding head in his arms.
Yeah.
That was incredible. That goes back to 1965, by the way.
Yeah. I think Bartolo will do it. I think he will.
I think he will, too. And he has fun. Did you guys happen to see a clip of him throwing the ball behind his back? MLB has this.
Oh, last year? I saw that play live. Yeah, I remember that play.
But they keep showing it over and over again. And every time they do, I'm more impressed with it. And I'm impressed by his cool. He just does it and kind of jogs off the field.
Oh, he had a big smile on his face after that, as he was jogging. He had a big smile on his face. So did everybody.
From behind. I don't see the smile. I just see the cool swagger of going off the field. That was some cool beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great. And you
Robert,
saw that.
Another impression, if you will, of this season, how it's shaping up. What do you think, and I'll ask both you guys, what's real and what's not real? What are we seeing out there that is apt to hold up, and what are we seeing that is apt to fade? And let's, now that I'm phrasing the question, why don't we start with Robert and keep it to the Yankees? What do you see that is apt to continue, and what do you see that you're a little skeptical of it holding up?
What I see is real is Aaron Judge, and of course, I still believe in Gary Sanchez. I still think the young guys are going to produce this year. Ellsbury, I think, is going to have a good year. The pitching, I'm not sold on the starting pitching holding up. So, how it's been so far. I just don't see it happening through the course of the year. And I do think they'll be competitive, but it's the starting pitching that has me the most worried.
Okay. Mert, what are you most worried about with the Mets?
Well, I'm worried about Reyes right now. He's got personal problems besides, which could be why he's not hitting. He's got, some issues. Girlfriend, wife.
Are they saying this or conjecturing? Is that a conjecture or?
Nah, it's real. Yeah, he was paying, I think they said, $11,000 a month child support to some woman, and she asked for $40,000 a month. So,
well,
yeah.
Bread's gone up.
Bread and milk, yeah. But
and milk, dry cleaning, Mert. For Christ's sake, give the woman, cut her some slack.
Yeah.
Right.
But in any case,
the deadbeat.
So I'm worried about him, and I don't know if you heard this, but they got that kid down in Vegas, Rosario. They got him working. They got him working at third base. You hear that, Jose? You know? So.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And
so he's got me worried
now. Yeah, you think you got problems now, Jose.
But I'll tell you, one thing that's going well. One thing going well. I'm sorry. Now, I was going to say one thing going well is Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce, how he was last year, like he didn't want to be here, or it seemed like he didn't want to be here. But I guess he had just trouble adjusting. But this year, right from the start, he's playing really well. He got like 6 homers. He's hitting well, and he agrees to play first base, which he hardly ever played before, and he's playing it pretty well. So,
right.
That's a very pleasant surprise. Yeah. Very pleasant.
And he doesn't make excuses for last year. He says, I just played shitty. I was trying hard. He says, to be honest with you, I lived in 6, my wife was expecting, had a kid on the way, and here I am in 6 different residences in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was terrible.
In New York. So, but you don't hear him bitching. And the first thing I noticed, I had just the radio broadcast last year, and I saw very few TV games. First thing I noticed in the spring, he's a pretty good athlete in right field. He's not a klutz. He's not a typical corner outfielder. He's got skills out there. And I like that a lot. I like the fact that Granderson is showing signs of youth a little bit, if not hitting yet in the field. He gives him a good game, and Lagares is back, and like you said, it could be serendipity. Duda gives him a bat off the bench when he comes back, and certainly flexibility. Flores is another person out. We didn't even talk about him, and it's
Yeah.
incredible value. How you can see why they're going for Rosario at third. Hell, there's nobody left. We got T.J. Rivera coming in there. That's not a proven.
No, he's like a
guy.
220 guy. Yeah, utility guy. But Flores is one of the top. Flores is one of the top hitters against left-handed pitching in all of baseball.
Mert, I'm so reminded of when the Yankees, and Robert too, you can attest to when the Yankees got Rodriguez, and Jeter was playing shortstop naturally beforehand, and the question came up, who's going to go to third? They were both shortstops, and Jeter chose to stay at short. They respected him. They let him stay at short. I thought that they'd be better putting Jeter at third, let him give up a little pride. Rodriguez had a tremendous amount of range at short, and Jeter didn't. And the same holds true, I think, if they're going to bring up Rosario. Should they consider moving a Struble over to third, or should they just he's been so solid, ride with it the way it is? Instead of putting the pressure on the kid, though, to learn a new position, who are you going to put the pressure on? Who's most suited to handle a change of position? And I would think Asdrubal Cabrera, just by his experience, would be, and you might pick up a little range at short. I'm sure they'll keep it the way it is, and I don't find fault in that. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility.
If it comes down to that, I mean, Cabrera has been having leg issues for a while. In fact, he missed a game, and he could hardly run the other day when he was playing. So he may be better suited for third base than a young kid that's been playing short his whole life.
And I'm sure they're not thinking along those lines with the idea that you're going to disturb a kid who's on his way to the majors. He's played shortstop all his life, and now they're moving him over to third. I don't see that as a good idea, but they seem to, and so that's the way it is. I wouldn't have messed with him from day one. But then again, you got he'd be the fourth choice, fifth if you count Rivera. Wright, Reyes, Rivera played it.
Flores.
Yeah, they've had a lot of guys going through it. There's also the possibility of moving Walker over to third base.
Well,
and Flores is the other guy I was thinking of that has played it and is hurt.
Yeah, well, he's on the 10-day DL. So.
Yeah, and from what I understand, he's in the hospital bed, still hooked up to IV. He's got an infection in his leg, in his knee, and they're trying to knock it out.
Yeah, he's still there. They said he was going to be there through the weekend. I didn't realize that. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if he's still there or not. Yeah.
I didn't check. I didn't check. Robert, I may have asked you that question before. Do you think that the Yankees would have been better served to move Jeter over to third and put Rodriguez at short when they first got him?
It crossed my mind, but A-Rod was such a good infielder, and he picked up third base like he'd been playing it his whole career. I mean, he really was good at third base. So I was happy with how they did it. Okay. I didn't have a problem with Jeter staying at short.
Beautiful.
I think it would mess Jeter's head up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, there would have been some kind of ego play going on if that happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you listening from around the world, New York brings out a special kind of player, one way or the other. You can play in New York, the ego can help you. Reggie Jackson, the ego can hurt you.
Yeah.
Ed Whitson. Some guys can play in New York, some guys can't. And when we talked about Bruce adjusting to New York, it's just like, well, he's moving to another city. No, it's very difficult. You got to give a guy a lot of credit. The press is on you all the time.
Yeah.
You can't go to the John without them knowing. And Boston is no different. There are some cities where fans are just rabid. Philadelphia is a good example of booing the Easter Bunny or whatever it was, booing Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like a Von Novak.
Different in California, with the press, with the media, 100% different. And Florida too, Mert. I'm sure the teams in Florida, Tampa Bay, and Miami, they don't have nowhere near the scrutiny of New York teams. Am I correct?
Absolutely not. No, it's you got all the TV guys, all the newspaper guys, all the radio guys, and then you got guys that are assigned to the team that are there all the time.
Right.
I don't know if you probably don't see the post game shows where you are, but I can watch the post game shows when I'm home in Jacksonville because I got SNY down there, and the guys are completely surrounded by their locker. This, I don't know, 20 guys maybe, and everybody's got something in your face, and it goes on.
It's like Tanaka with the Yankees. He's got foreign press following him along with the rest of the New York.
Hey, how about the guys who just have a language problem? They have to have an interpreter.
Yeah.
And interpreters can't capture the gist of it because there's the inflection, there's the slang, whatever it is, you can't translate literally. I think I proved that with Hazel Artis, Mert. That I was never able to capture the translation from Spanish.
Señor Tyko, ¿qué pasa?
Completely. I could do an occasion where I could go, ¿qué pasa? And they knew what I was talking about, but for the rest of it, nah, none of that. Okay, gentlemen, this has been fun and a pleasure. For the vast majority that didn't understand the Hazel Artist reference, well, you're not an insider. We'll catch you next week, everybody, and that'll be in my memoirs.
Classic Spanish teacher, yes.
It was incredible. Gave me a 19 when 65 was passing as a final grade, Robert. I wasn't good in Spanish. But math either. That's another story. Okay, guys. We'll catch you next week on the flip-flop, and it's always fun talking New York City baseball.
All right. Let's get some wins this week. All right.
Yes.
Take care.
Both teams, especially the Mets.
Yes. Yeah, there's two. If they don't, they could be 9-10 games out by next week if they keep going the way they've been going.
Yeah, but
I got Washington next week.
I look for a turnaround, and the basic reason, like we talked about early on, is Familia coming back. helping the bullpen all the way down the line very seriously there.
Yeah.
Good.
So we'll hope for the best and prepare for the worst. We'll be back next week. Hell or windfire, or however that goes.
High water.
Great. Oh, okay. Thank you. I always need a helping hand from my friend. Okay. We'll talk soon and catch you on the flip-flop, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Good night.